Lakshmikant. Chapter 1. Historical Background. The British came to India in 1600 as traders in the form of East India Company, which had the exclusive right of trading in India under a charter granted by Queen Elizabeth I. In 1765, the company, which till now had purely trading functions, obtained the Diwani, that is, rights over revenue and civil justice, of Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa. This started its career as a territorial power. In 1858, in the wake of the Sepoy Mutiny, the British Crown assumed direct responsibility for the governance of India. This rule continued until India was granted independence on August 15, 1947. With independence came the need of a constitution. As suggested by M. N. Roy, a pioneer of communist movement in India in 1934, a constituent assembly was formed for this purpose in 1946. And on January 26, 1950, the constitution came into being. However, various features of the Indian constitution and polity have their roots in the British rule. There are certain events in the British rule that laid down the legal framework for the organization and functioning of government and administration in British India. These events have greatly influenced our constitution and polity. They are explained here in a chronological order. The Company Rule, 1773 to 1858. Regulating Act of 1773. This act is of great constitutional importance as A. It was the first step taken by the British government to control and regulate the affairs of the East India Company in India. B. It recognized for the first time the political and administrative functions of the company. And C. It laid the foundations of central administration in India. Features of the Act. 1. It designated the Governor of Bengal as the Governor General of Bengal and created an executive council of 4 members to assist him. The first such Governor General was Lord Warren Hastings. 2. It made the governors of Bombay and Madras presidencies subordinate to the Governor General of Bengal, unlike earlier when the 3 presidencies were independent of one another. 3. It provided for the establishment of a Supreme Court at Calcutta, 1774, comprising 1 Chief Justice and 3 other judges. 4. It prohibited the servants of the company from engaging in any private trade or accepting presents or bribes from the natives. 5. It strengthened the control of the British government over the company by requiring the Court of Directors (governing body of the company) to report on its revenue, civil and military affairs in India. Pitt's India Act of 1784. In a bid to rectify the defects of the Regulating Act of 1773, the British Parliament passed the Amending Act of 1781, also known as the Act of Settlement. The next important act was the Pitt's India Act of 1784. Features of the Act. 1. It distinguished between the commercial and political functions of the company. 2. It allowed the Court of Directors to manage the commercial affairs but created a new body called Board of Control to manage the political affairs. Thus, it established a system of double government. 3. It empowered the Board of Control to supervise and direct all operations of the civil and military government or revenues of the British possessions in India. Thus, the Act was significant for 2 reasons. First, the company's territories in India were for the first time called the British possessions in India. And second, the British government was given the supreme control over company affairs and its administration in India. Charter Act of 1833. This act was the final step towards centralization in British India. Features of the Act. 1. It made the Governor General of Bengal as the Governor General of India, and vested in him all civil and military powers. Thus, the Act created for the first time a Government of India having authority over the entire territorial area possessed by the British in India. Lord William Bentinck was the first Governor General of India. 2. It deprived the Governor of Bombay and Madras of their legislative powers. The Governor General of India was given exclusive legislative powers for the entire British India. The laws made under the previous acts were called as regulations, while laws made under this act were called as acts. 3. It ended the activities of the East India Company as a commercial body, which became a purely administrative body. It provided that the company's territories in India were held by it in trust for His Majesty, his heirs, and successors. 4. The Charter Act of 1833 attempted to introduce a system of open competition for selection of civil servants and stated that the Indians should not be debarred from holding any place, office, and employment under the company. However, this provision was negated after opposition from the Court of Directors. Charter Act of 1853. This was the last of the series of Charter Acts passed by the British Parliament between 1793 and 1853. It was a significant constitutional landmark. Features of the Act. 1. It separated for the first time the legislative and executive functions of the Governor-General's Council. It provided for addition of 6 new members called Legislative Councillors to the Council. In other words, it established a separate Governor-General's Legislative Council which came to be known as the Indian Central Legislative Council. This legislative wing of the council functioned as a mini parliament, adopting the same procedures as the British Parliament. Thus, legislation for the first time was treated as a special function of the government, requiring special machinery and special process. 2. It introduced an open competition system of selection and recruitment of civil servants. The covenanted civil service was thus thrown open to the Indians also. Accordingly, the Macaulay Committee (brackets open), the Committee on the Indian Civil Service (brackets close), was appointed in 1854. 3. It extended the company's rule and allowed it to retain the possession of Indian territories on trust for the British Crown, but it did not specify any particular period, unlike the previous charters. This was a clear indication that the company's rule could be terminated at any time the Parliament liked. 4. It introduced for the first time local representation in the Indian Central Legislative Council. Of the 6 new legislative members of the Governor-General's Council, 4 members were appointed by the local (provincial) governments of Madras, Bombay, Bengal, and Agra. The Crown Rule 1858 to 1947. Government of India Act of 1858. This significant act was enacted in the wake of the revolt of 1857, also known as the First War of Independence or the Sepoy Mutiny. The act, known as the Act for the Good Government of India, abolished the East India Company and transferred the powers of government, territories, and revenues to the British Crown. Features of the Act. 1. It provided that India henceforth was to be governed by and in the name of Her Majesty. It changed the designation of the Governor-General of India to that of Viceroy of India. He, Viceroy, was the direct representative of the British Crown in India. Lord Canning thus became the first Viceroy of India. 2. It ended the system of double government by abolishing the Board of Control and Court of Directors. 3. It created a new office, Secretary of State for India, vested with complete authority and control over Indian administration. The Secretary of State was a member of the British Cabinet and was responsible ultimately to the British Parliament. 4. It established a 15-member Council of India to assist the Secretary of State for India. The Council was an advisory body. The Secretary of State was made the Chairman of the Council. 5. It constituted the Secretary of State in Council as a body corporate, capable of suing and being sued in India and in England. The Act of 1858 was, however, largely confined to the improvement of the administrative machinery by which the Indian government was to be supervised and controlled in England. It did not alter in any substantial way the system of government that prevailed in India.